Welcome back to Event Explorer, the podcast where we go behind the scenes of the world's most fascinating events and festivals. Thank you for joining us today. We've got a really fantastic episode. We are traveling to Texas and back in time a few hundred years. Our guest is an expert in event marketing and promotion and has been a driving force behind the magical Scarborough Renaissance Festival, where they've grown a small festival into a thriving creative business. It's a really fun and lively conversation. Thanks for joining. Before we embark on this journey back in time with Helaine, a quick reminder to all our listeners, make sure you follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Hitting that subscribe button ensures that you won't miss out on any of our explorations into the world's most fascinating events. Now, without further ado, let's head down to Waxahachie to the Scarborough Renaissance Festival. Huzzah! All right, today we are thrilled to welcome Helaine Thompson, the Director of Marketing and Communications at the Scarborough Renaissance Festival. With over 35 years in marketing and sponsorship, is that right? Wait, that can't be right.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. With over 35 years in marketing and sponsorship, Helaine has been a driving force in elevating the Scarborough Renaissance Festival into an acclaimed event with nationwide attention. She brings a wealth of experience in event marketing, public relations, and media strategy. Helaine, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. I really wanted to get this story told. I think it's super unique. It's one that a lot of people can relate to. They've probably been to a festival like yours, but they don't really know what goes on behind the scenes. And Scarborough is such a big festival, and it's a unique market. And I think there's some great stories to tell. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
So Helaine, nobody I've found kind of takes a direct path towards events and working, especially maybe in a Renaissance festival. You might not have a college degree in Renaissance festivaling. So tell us a little bit about your path and kind of, generally, and then what led you to this specific role.
Well, my background is in media. I started basically selling ads in my early days of my career. I have sold everything from bus advertising to bus shelters to billboards to television to radio to online to print, a little bit of everything. And I did that for a better part of 15 years. And then I had the opportunity to work with the festival. And they were one of my clients in my radio days, and got to know the owners and the managers of the festival and kind of fell in love with it at that point. And just kind of through some different changes of events and my career path, the owners approached me about coming to work for them. And so in the early 2000s, I came and worked for them as the director of marketing. And then some lifestyle family things occurred that made me, it was the time for me to take a step back at that point. I left for 8 years, but continued to visit and keep in touch with the festival and, of course, enjoy the festival on my own with my family. And then in late 2011, the festival approached me again about coming back on board and working with the festival once again. At that point, I owned my own ad agency. And so I came on board as a consultant, and then lo and behold, almost, over 12 years later, here I am back working full time for the festival again, and have been for the better part of the last 10 years. And so it was just one of those places that once you get to know the people and the organization and all of that, it just keeps drawing you back in. And I can't think of a better place to work or a better group of people to work with.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, everyone wants that in their career, and you found it. So tell me about those people and the founders and the kind of early days of the festival, and who were those people that were like the driving force behind making this a real thing?
It's interesting enough. A lot of people outside of the industry don't understand that most of the Renaissance festivals are owned and operated by individuals. It is, very few of them are owned by big corporations. And back in the early 1980s, it's a couple. There are two families that own the festival, and one of those families, a couple, their last name is Hollyfield, decided they wanted to. They had been to a couple of the Renaissance festivals, and they felt like that North Texas was a great place to start one up, and so they went in and purchased some land south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area and started to build a Renaissance. And then they joined forces with another family, and those four people are really who built this thing from the ground up. I mean, we started this festival with tents and in the middle of a pasture. And over the course of the last 43 years, they have built it up to just a magnificent place. We have over 200 permanent structures. Over 400 trees are now line our beautiful site. We have 20 plus stages. So they really have built it. And the other part of it is a lot of people have been to a sort of pop-up Renaissance festival. We are among the top 5 largest Renaissance festivals in the country. Our site is a permanent site. We have been in the same location for 43 years. And again, we're getting ready to go into our 43rd season. And it's a town. So when you walk in through our gates, you really feel as if you're walking into an English village having a big festival. And they've worked very, very hard over the years. And of course, it's evolved. Like I said, it started out as pasture. And now when you walk into it, you would never even imagine that. It's just such a magnificent sight.
Tell me about the site. What's like this acreage like now? I imagine there's kind of dedicated parking areas. There's
Yes.
Ticketed gates for entry.
We have over 175 acres that is our property. And about 55 to 60 of that is our parking lot. And so that's usually the first experience people have is when they come into our parking lot naturally. And then once you come in through our gates, we have one main entry gate. And once you enter there, you really do feel as if you're walking into the English village. In fact, the entry gate looks like a castle wall. So you're really getting the feel from the very first time you walk through the gates. And once you get in the gates, we have a 35-acre site. And to give people some perspective, that is larger than most shopping malls are.
Incredible.
It is a very large facility. We have 5 different kitchens, what we call kitchens, which are our food court areas. We have, again, 20 plus stages. We have over 200 artisan shops. And so, there's just so much going on. And people often ask me, how do you best navigate the festival? And my thought on that is just explore. Just, walk around, and you never know what treasures you're going to find, from walking in to a shop and finding these unique handmade treasures to watching an artisan make this craft from scratch using techniques that are hundreds and sometimes thousands of years old, to a stage act that is really more vaudevillian in nature, because these are interactive shows. These are shows where, you might be brought up onto the stage as part of the act. You never know that. And it's talents and entertainment that you just don't see everywhere else. And I think that's really the uniqueness of our our Renaissance world, is you just never know what you're going to run into. And on top of that, we have over 125 member performing company. And this is who makes up the villagers and the royal court. Our reigning monarchs at the festival are King Henry VIII and Queen Catherine Parr. And so, they are always out and about throughout the village, and you never know when you might run into them as well. So it really is a unique experience as you travel through the village.
And I imagine that people have, now that the festival has been going for many decades, that King Henry might have been the page to the previous king or something. Are there people that have kind of grown with the festival? Are there acts that have come organically and just come back every year and have grown as the festival's grown with you?
Yes, absolutely. From both the entertainment side and the artisan side. We have a number of people that have been here since day one, and they have been either performing or been a artisan at our festival since the early 1980s. And then yet we had the others that are brand new to our festival this year. I mean, this year alone, we have, I think, 16 new artisans that are going to be at our festival. We have over a dozen new entertainers that are coming in this year. And so we always try to mix that old and that new together. And some of those, may have been here years and years ago. In fact, one of them, for instance, Smee, the singing executioner, is coming to our festival this year. He has not been at our festival in over 20 years, and he's making a return visit this season to the festival. So he's kind of old and new at the same time. And so you get a lot of that sort of thing. And the other part that makes our festival unique from the artisan standpoint is we really feel like we have an artisan marketplace because we are one of a handful of Renaissance festivals that require that our artisans have handmade products. We do not allow very few imports come into our festival. In fact, we are one of the largest outdoor juried craft shows in the country. And this means that people have to submit their crafts to us, and we have a board that sits down and reviews every piece that they submit. And is this the quality of what we expect at our festival? Is it the craftsmanship that we expect? And is it a fit for the environment in the world that we've created? Because not everything does. And so, that's really a lot of what goes into it. And so, yeah, there's just a lot of differences. And again, a lot of new and a lot of old mixed together.
Sure. I think that attention to detail must pay off. And that is why the reputation of the festival, I think, is just so strong. Can you tell us a little bit top sellers of the festival for different crafts, whether it's glass blowing or I'm not sure. You tell me, what type of participatory arts are there at the festival?
Well, our festival is more of being able to watch the craft that you're buying being made before your eyes. We have a stone carver, we have a hammock weaver, we have a full glass blowing booth. And the glass blower does, I think, 5 different demonstrations every day. And he goes through the whole history of glass. It's going to educate you on where it came from, how long they've been doing, how the different techniques have developed. I mean, it's really an extraordinary, informational session. We also have 2 different glass sculptors at our site. We have a full forge. We have a blacksmith. And so, the interactive part of what that offers is you can sit there and talk to this artisan as he's making or she is making this craft, and they can tell you how they got into it, all the different intricacies of how they can develop this particular piece that you're seeing. And I mean, we even have a gentleman who does just amazing bronze sculptures out there. And then, some of these are little, butterflies that you can stick in your garden. Other ones are 6 feet tall eagles that he sculpted from, bronze. It's just amazing. And so, that's really the cool part of what being able to interact with the artisans is to really get a feel for what goes into making this. This isn't just a mass produced product that you've got thousands of them sitting on a shelf. Every piece is unique because every piece is handmade. And that's really, I think, one of the most unique parts of it. Plus, the craft that you see at our festival are going to be different than any craft you're going to find anywhere in the entire Dallas-Fort Worth area or North Texas area because of the fact that it is geared toward our environment and our world. So it's very unique. We have tapestries. Again, we have blown glass. We have, hammocks and things like that you just don't see at other festivals or other art events.
Sure.
And I think that's another part of what makes it so unique.
And another really cool part of that, I think, is costume. That people are dressing up, and I know that there are costumes. Are there costumes available for purchase or rental at the festival in order for people to get really in the spirit that way?
Yes, we do. We have our official costumer. It's called Suit Your Fancy, and they are located right inside the front gate, and that really gives people a chance to try it out, just kind of see what it's like to immerse themselves into our world. Strangely, we have about 30 to 35% of our customers love being in costume when they come out. And interestingly enough, over the last 5 to 7 years, we've seen a huge uptick in that because we're finding the younger generations are much more into the cosplay and the, kind of getting beyond themselves and coming out and being a different character. They really have embraced that. And so we're actually seeing more now than we did, years ago. And so, anyway, the costumer allows you to come and rent the costume for the day. So you can check it out, you can try it out, rent it for the day, and then you can kind of decide which character you want to go in. And what many people do is, they will either, make part of their costume themselves, or what they will do is they'll come out and they'll buy different pieces to go with it. So every year they build upon their costume and their look. So it might be a belt, it might be a handmade leather pouch. It might be a tunic, all the different pieces, or it might just be the elaborate royal, gown that they can actually purchase from someone who's made it by hand right there at the festival. And so, it's really, that's really a big part of it, is that people will simply add on and change. And many people have several different versions of their costume that especially those that have come year after year after year, that, they just say, okay, I feel like being this persona today, so I'm going to go this route. But what other people do too is each weekend of our festival is a different theme.
Ah.
And so they will dress according to what that theme is. So on Celtic weekend, of course, you're going to have more kilts and more plaid and more, looks than you can imagine. But then on our Live the Fantasy weekend, you're going to see more fairies and, all kinds of different imaginings. We get Game of Thrones people. We get all, Star Wars, Star Trek, anybody, any kind of fantasy character come in during that weekend. Then we have a Legends of the Seas weekend. And so then you'll see the pirates and the mermaids and everything nautical comes in on that weekend. So people also, especially if they're coming multiple weekends, they will say, okay, on this weekend, I'm going to do this. And on this weekend, I'm going to be a completely different person and come as this area. And that makes it a lot of fun.
Those all must be such unique draws. What are some peak attendance numbers that you're seeing at the festival? How many people are you servicing with all these great offerings every weekend?
We average 10 to 12,000 people a day throughout the 17 days of the festival.
That's 3,000 to 4,000 costumes.
Yes, it is. And but many people will come 2 or 3 times, and then we have what we call our just our core, just diehard fans, and they're called our Friends of Fair. And we have a special membership for them, and it's a limited number membership. But these are the people that are just so passionate, and many of them have been with us for decades, and they come out every single day of the festival. And they may have one singular costume, or they might again, change it out every couple of weeks just to match what we're doing. And those are just different fun things. And what the festival also does is as part of these themed weekends, we also do special events. And so, for instance, we have a chivalry weekend. Well, on that weekend, the Knights of Scarborough, our jousting knights, will actually do a lesson in chivalry and teach you how to be chivalrous. And the other part of that is we do a vow renewal ceremony that has been going on for over 15 years. And so couples will come in and renew their vows to one another. And it's a very beautiful, event that we do. And then others are really fun and, kind of crazy. We do costume contest. We actually do a Scottish egg eating contest on Celtic weekend. So you never know. There's just all kinds of different fun things that go on.
Sure. And there's a good sense of whimsy to it. It's not, it's a place where people can escape and they know they're going to have a good time.
Exactly.
I imagine, it's not the overburdened cost of going to a Disney, getting on a flight, and, people can escape for the weekend and really enjoy themselves and feel like they're somewhere else. I'm sure, food is a big part of that too. So when you were describing all the different kitchens, is this an offering of the festival itself, or do you have different vendors making specialties like that?
It's a combination.
Okay.
We run, we have, again, 5 different kitchens, as we call them. And we run several of them. And then we have several longtime partners that run other kitchens. But we try to have very unique non-festival food. We do not sell hot dogs. We do not sell hamburgers. But we do have the obligatory funnel cake for those who really just have to have one. But we also do, we do turkey legs. That's one of our big sellers. We sell over 20 tons of turkey legs every festival season. I mean, it's a lot of turkey legs.
A lot of turkey legs.
But in addition to that, we have a full stir fry booth that has some amazing offerings. We have a pasta palace, which is handmade pastas, and they do specials every single weekend, so you never know what they're going to come up with. We also have a fresh from scratch bakery they start baking at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning on a festival day and just have amazing pastry offerings. We also have the largest food on a stick selection in Texas, because if there's a way to put food on a stick, we do it. And this can be everything from, of course, we have steak, we have chicken, we have sausage. We also have macaroni and cheese. We have fruits. We have tempura. We have desserts. We have cheesecake on a stick, peanut butter pie on a stick, key lime pie on a stick. So, it's just a lot of, you're walking around and we try to make it fun and easy for you to grab something and go see a show or go, check out a shop and things like that.
Sure. I imagine, and you did mention a little bit towards kids programming for children. Are there specific events targeted towards them, or is there kind of just a whole, I imagine, a whole slew of different features for them as well? What are some more kid-focused stuff that you have?
Right. Well, most of our stages are PG,
Sure.
and so they're suitable for all ages. However, having said that, there are certain stages and certain performers that are really geared more toward younger children, and they're silly and they're very much geared toward that audience. And we have a list of those on the website as well as in our in our program. But we also have a mermaid lagoon where people kids can come through, and kids of all ages can come through and meet live mermaids. We have knighting ceremonies where the king and queen or members of their court will actually knight children to become members of the realm and protectors of the realm. We also have a lessons in history. We do weapons demonstrations. We have birds of prey exhibitions, and so there's a lot of different things. But for the fun aspect of it, is we also have what we call Renaissance rides. These are rides that are very different than most people are used to seeing at a festival because they're human powered. There are no electrical rides at the festival. So everything that you ride, it is pushed or pulled or spun around by a person. And so it really is a kind of a unique, kind of throwback, experience. And new this year, we have a brand new petting zoo coming in this year, and it's called the Royal Menagerie. And it's going to have a whole array of kind of common petting zoo animals, but also some exotics. They're going to have lemurs and kangaroos and things like that. So it's a very unique situation. We're very excited about having them in. But also on the crafter side of things, there are certain shops that are geared toward kids. I mean, we have a wooden sword and shield shop where they can come in and pick out their own wooden sword and wooden shield. Some of them are pre-painted. Some of them they can actually go home and decorate themselves. We also have another awesome company that's called Safer Swords. And if you're like me, who had boys growing up, anything with a sword is what they're all about. And these are kind of Nerf-like swords, but they're made into the Renaissance style, and they're basically Nerf swords. And my sons had a whole collection of when they were growing up, so it was. That was a must-have every time we, ever brought them to the festival, and so there's different things like that. We have wands that people can, handcrafted wands. There's costuming that's geared just toward kids. There's musical instruments. So there's just a lot of different things, and that's the part that I think makes our Renaissance Festival so unique. Is one, we are the #2 family-friendly Renaissance Festival in the country. Our focus toward having something for everyone is very important to us. And so, yes, we welcome everyone. But what's great is if you have a multi-generational family that you're bringing in, or a group that you're bringing in, everyone in that group is going to find something they enjoy doing. Because kids, we're outdoors. They can be loud. They can, they don't have to be, set up in this one little space and you have to sit still and be quiet and all that stuff. That's not the kind of place we have. They can go talk to an entertainer. They can actually be brought into and have fun and interact with that entertainer. They can meet the queen. They can meet the king. They can do all of these kinds of things. And that's what's really unique. But if you have other folks that are maybe teenagers or young adults or even or seniors, everyone's going to find something they enjoy doing. And on the flip side of the whole kids aspect, we also do have several stages that are PG-16. That are geared toward the more adult audience. Because, we also understand that, those over 21 want to be able to kick back and have a little different experience than, places with a bunch of kids. And those stages are located where our pubs are. We have 14 pubs throughout the site. And those, PG-16 pubs we locate in the stages, the PG-16 entertainment rather, are located in the pub areas. So again, it's not something that kids are just going to walk in the middle of. And our entertainers are outstanding at saying, if someone happens to come in, hey, this might not be a place for your 5-year-old. This isn't quite the right place. Why don't you go over here instead? And so they're really great about doing that. And so, but it's more mature, humor and things like that. In fact, one of our most popular is Arthur Greenleaf Holmes, the wildly inappropriate poet. And so we'll just kind of take that your imaginings from there. One of the other things that we've developed over the last 10 to 12 years is we do daily beer and wine tasting events at the festival. And this is a separate ticketed event, but it is a 1 hour wine or beer tasting event that you go to. And the wine tasting is conducted by a certified sommelier, and our beer tasting is conducted by a certified cicerone. And so these guys really know what they're doing. And it's an entertaining history into the craft, but you really get an education on how to sample, what the variances are, and what you're tasting. We also have a food pairing with it. So it is a great addition to an adult visit to the festival. And each weekend they also have a different theme. So they will go through, like for instance, on the wine tastings, they will do wines of Italy, wines of Germany, what they call wines of the New World, of course, which are American wines. They'll do wines from down under. So every weekend is a different thing. So people that do come multiple weekends, they might enjoy one or two different ones because they're going to get a total different variety of tastings when they go.
That's incredible. You think about, you're just going to get your beer in your cup at your festival and you don't really get a choice. And the idea that you can have a refined, kind of curated experience, maybe while your teenager's out, learning to handle their Nerf sword is very cool.
Exactly.
And give somebody, something for everybody that comes through the door. Really love the idea that kids can be free there. And there's almost an expectation to be free, that as soon as you cross through these gates, maybe they don't know it the first time, but they're going to want to come back because they had this feeling of escape, a little bit,
right.
And they're not staring at a screen. That's what mom and dad
and that's really what we're all about. We're about creating the experience and the interaction, whether it be with an artisan or an entertainer or a member of our performing company. They're all about leaving you with a memory, and just you didn't just come and go wander around this festival site for 4 or 5 hours. You came and you had an experience, and it was something fun and enjoyable. A kid might have been brought up onto the stage and got to be part of the show. I mean, how cool is that? And so, those kinds, and adults are not immune from that either. So don't get me wrong. It's not just kids that get pulled up.
Sure.
But again, coming home with an experience and, having you really coming back and, being able to escape the hustle and bustle and the chaos of our world into a world that was a lot simpler. And, coming away with that, it's like, wow, that was just a great experience. That's our number one goal to everyone who comes through our festival gates every week.
Amazing. And I think we get a lot of those answers from festivals are a kind of antidote to a lot of our digital world, I think a lot of people are motivated by that get into this business. Speaking of...
Right, and then want to escape that everyday world, and we give them an ability where it's not just the same thing they're seeing everywhere else. This gets in, again, they can be someone else for a day.
Right.
And, people need that every now and then.
I 100% agree. So you are offering so much, just a little bit of behind the scenes. How many staff are working year round on the festival? I know you also have a Halloween activation that probably keeps people busy on the other end of the year. But it does sound like there's probably a pretty healthy staff that's taking care of the places, building things up.
Most people are pretty surprised is we operate actually with a very small staff.
Huh.
We only have about 40 full-time employees at the festival. And we go from 40, these full-time folks, and it's our marketing department, our administration folks, our operations team. But the majority of that is actually made up of our site crew and our creative crew. And those two teams are really what make the site look and feel the way you feel it. I mean, because we have the site crew that builds it, and our creative crew comes back and works in tandem with them to make it all beautiful and exciting. And so the two of them working together. And so that's the majority of the folks that we have on our staff. And we go from that number of people to close to 3,000 participants by the time we open our gates for Scarborough.
Working at the festival.
And that is a combination of entertainers, our food people, our front gate crews, our safety and security folks, our artisans, because each artisan shop might employ anywhere from 2 to 10 people.
Sure.
And so it's all of that combined, and when I say it's a village, it really is a village that you ended up with, because we have so many people that are the working parts of what make all this happen.
Speaking of which, and I regret to inform you, I have not yet been to Waxahachie, Texas.
Well,
I'm going to have
we
to
are going to have to
come.
correct that.
I know. Tell me, has there been a relationship with the city and the municipality? I imagine with such a big offering and traffic and safety and security, which I'm sure you do a great job with, but also growing in the economy of this. Has that
Yes,
been
we
an
have.
influence over the years?
Yes, we have a tremendous relationship with both the city of Waxahachie and the Convention and Visitors Bureau of Waxahachie. And they have both just been tremendous about supporting the festival, promoting the festival. We are the largest event in the county.
Okay.
And so, yes, we bring a lot of people to the area. And over the last 15 years, the community itself has grown exponentially. I believe the numbers are upwards of 20% increase in population over the last 10 years. Just in our county alone, but because we're basically a neighborhood suburb of Dallas Fort Worth, and so you get a lot of those folks that are, as the influx into North Texas, they've discovered this small town feel of this city. Because the city of Waxahachie is roughly about 40,000 people, and so it's a small town feel, but you have the access to the big city,
Sure,
entertainment
and you're one of those.
and all that sort of thing.
Without Dallas, yeah, you wouldn't have grown to such a large size.
But in some ways, it's also made the festival very challenging for the festival, because we're also one of the largest sports markets in the country.
Sure.
We have every major sports team here in Dallas Fort Worth, and so whether it be the Renaissance Festival, when you mentioned our Halloween event that we do in October, we are competing against the Dallas Stars, the Dallas Mavericks, the world champion Texas Rangers. That's all those things happen while we're in season. And so, from a marketing standpoint, we are having to compete with all those. Plus, it is a very, very active event community. And so there's a lot of things that compete for the time and the dollars of the people in this area. Six Flags is one of them.
Sure.
We have Six Flags right down the road from where we are. And so, those are some of the things that from a marketing standpoint, we have to really, work in ways to make us something that they're going to choose over some of those other things.
What have been, as technology has advanced, I'm sure your techniques have advanced as well. And you mentioned the changing up the themes for the weekend, so I'm sure that brings in fresh content. What have been some kind of keys to success to keep you on the forefront of people's minds, do you think?
Well, I think a lot of it is our partnerships with our media.
Okay.
Because that has had a lot to do with it. We have just tremendous partnerships on both broadcast and radio and television, and they have done just a tremendous job of really keeping us front and center. But having said that, the digital age has changed things tremendously. Because now the targetability of what we can do with our messages, and the fact that we can change up those messages so directly, and the fact that 10 years ago we did not have a dedicated social media person. Now we do. So because you have to, and so those things have all changed it, and it's given a voice in a different way to the way that we interact, and the way that we talk to our customers is very, very different than it was definitely than 10 years and even more long ago.
So as we look kind of towards the future, and I know you continue to grow, what are some of your kind of hopes for the event for the future? How do you think you see the trajectory of the festival moving forward and continuing to expand in the next 5-10 years?
Well, I think a big part of it is kind of what I mentioned before, the fact of we've seen a shift in our audience over the last several years, and that Gen Z and the millennials have really, really embraced our event and our type of event in a big way. And so in many ways, we've shifted our audience and shifted our focus on who we advertise to and who we're getting in through the gate. And what we're really hoping is that we can build on that audience, and they will become lifelong fans of our festival. And so our goal is to, again, create those experiences where they will come back year after year after year. And then that allows us to, again, bring in and keep fresh our entertainers, keep fresh our artisans. And that's something that, that we work collaboratively on with our operations staff, myself in the marketing area, the entertainment, the art, the craft director, all of those things. We are always talking and throwing around ideas on ways that we can improve, unique things that we can capitalize on, things that, okay, this is kind of a new trend. Is there a way that we could bring this into our world? There's always those discussions going on, and that collaboration is really key to us making sure that we're staying on top of that edge and creating the best experiences. An example of that, or two examples of that, are one is there's been a trend in recent years for Vikings or barbarians and things like that. Well, last year we introduced a brand new Viking weekend. And so now we have a special weekend and costume contest specifically geared toward that. This year we're very excited. We actually have several Viking themed artisans that are coming into the festival for the first time. And so those are the kinds of things that we try to, capitalize almost on the pop culture aspect in ways that make sense for our festival. Not everything does, but there are certain things that do. Another thing is to capitalize on some of the social media phenoms. And one of those, I'm not sure if you're familiar with, is Jacques the Whipper. He is a huge TikTok star. And he actually came up out of the Renaissance world. Well, he has just got a tremendous following and tremendous presence online. Well, he's coming back to our festival after a 6-year gap. And so we're very excited to have him come back as this huge internet star that we feel is going to bring in a whole nother group of people that maybe hadn't have discovered him online, but hadn't yet discovered our Renaissance world. And so those are just some of the ways that we try to, balance the two and try to, again, keep bringing it fresh and bringing it, new things for people to experience each year.
I love that. This kind of juxtaposition of digital technology and medieval or Renaissance style, that they're coming together.
There's kind of a slippery slope there. You have to be real careful.
Sure. Just one final question for you. You seem to really enjoy your job and your career. And how would you advise someone interested in marketing communications to get into the events world?
Absolutely. I'm a huge proponent of event marketing, and I have actually been a part of it since the year 2000. As I mentioned before, I started my career on the media side of things, and I was selling advertising. I was perfectly happy doing it. And when the door opened to go into the event side of things, it opened my world. And fortunately, I worked for a couple of radio stations that were very event oriented in and of themselves. So I got a little sampling of it and got to see that part of it. And it's fun. And it's a fun thing, but it also is always ever changing. It's not static. It's not stagnant. There's always something new. There's always something different. And there is an excitement and a vibrancy to being a part of an event. And this is not the only event that I've been part of. I've been a part of a wine event. I've been a part of a art event. I was a part of one of the largest guitar festivals in the country. So I've seen it from several different sides throughout my career. But again, this will be my 15th season participating and being a part of the Scarborough Renaissance Festival. And I came back and I've continued to work with them because it is just so much fun. And there's so many different people you meet, and it's something different every single day. And that creates, I think, a excitement for what you do and a connection with what you do that traditional advertising, I don't think, offers you that.
Sure.
Or marketing.
I love that. Yeah, and you can see it. It comes through. You're obviously so proud of the event, and congratulations on the success and the growth. Obviously, due in no small part to your contributions.
Well, thank you.
So I want to thank you for joining on this journey, or letting us go on this journey with you on Event Explorer. Your passion, has really brought this event to life. I cannot wait to get down to Waxahachie and visit with you and have a turkey leg and do some beer tasting.
Well, absolutely. We'd love to have you come down, and I can give you the whole grand tour and show it to you in person, because you're not. It's so funny when people, I tell people about it. It's so hard to wrap their head around it until they walk through the gates. And I can't tell you how many people are going, oh my gosh, I had no idea how much it was. Oh my gosh, I had no idea that this was really how big it was, or how amazing it was. Because you just trying to create the picture in your head is so difficult until you see it for yourself. And it really is just an amazing, amazing place. And we hope you and everyone else come and check us out.
Lovely. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for giving us a glimpse behind the scenes. It's been a pleasure. And I think maybe we'll check back in around Halloween time, perhaps, and get a little taste of what you're doing in the fall.
We would love to do that.
All right. Take care. Thanks, Helaine.
All right. Thank you.
That was such a lively conversation with Helaine. From a passion project of a couple of Texans to employing over 3,000 people at the event is a huge achievement. All of the craft vendors she mentioned, the great food, and the plussed-up beverages, I think they're doing a great job at making the Scarborough Renaissance Festival an annual tradition, if not a weekend tradition, for many people in the area. Listeners, if you're in the Dallas area from April 6th to May 27th, and on Saturdays and Sundays, or Memorial Day Monday, make sure you experience the magic of Scarborough Renaissance Festival firsthand. It promises to be an unforgettable journey back in time, filled with wonder and excitement for all ages. Thanks again to Helaine for joining. And thank you to all of you for tuning into today's episode. Please don't forget to follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn to join the ongoing conversation about the fascinating world of events. And of course, subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform to stay up to date with all of our explorations. And we're always on the lookout for more events to explore and would love to hear from you. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or you have an event you think deserves a spotlight, please reach out. Until next time, I'm Daniel Roth. Happy exploring.